The biggest change when it comes to playing college 25 as opposed to Madden is the boundary in the field. Okay, it's a very, maybe not the biggest thing, but it is very important. Okay, so this is Madden. I went back, I opened up Madden, and this is a screenshot on the practice field where we are in the middle of the field and we have a 3-by-1 type set like this, right? Where the passing strength of the formation is to the left. Okay. We run a play, a drag route from the number 3 going from left to right, gets the ball, tackle, and now the next play we are on the right hash. All right, so this would be the boundary side because there's less space because we are now on the right hash, and this would be the field side where there's more space. So typically teams want to put their passing strength of the formation on the field side because you have more receivers and you want more space for them to operate in. Okay. Well, this is a situation where it's really not ideal, to where you are putting your passing strength on the boundary side of the field where there's less space for you to work with. All right. Now, obviously there's teams that do this. Okay, but I don't think it's ideal. And when you play against people in Madden, they will run their formation into the boundary. And I don't think it's on purpose. I think it's just because they just want to run a play and they're not really thinking about the fact that their passing strength is on the boundary side. So let's go to college real quick. Well, in college, the hash marks are further apart as we see on the field. Okay, and this makes a drastic change in how you should approach on offense and defense when it comes to when you're playing, dealing with things into the boundary and into the field. So, when we have the ball on the left hash here, now the boundary side has less space than it would in the NFL due to the hash mark being further or closer to the sideline. And the field side actually has more space to work with, right? So when we run our passing strength on this side of the field, look at all of the space that's available for them to attack, okay? Now, there's a flip side to this. Imagine a situation to where instead of us putting our passing strength onto the field side, we actually put them into the boundary. And this is what I mean by formation into the boundary, where the passing strength of the formation is on the short side of the field. And in college, it's far more pronounced because the hash marks are further away from the center of the field. So we have even less space to work with when we put the passing strength on the boundary side. And you will run into people online who will constantly put the passing strength on the boundary side. And again, I'm not saying that, that's a wrong way of doing things. There may be instances to where, you may want to do something like this. Certain play calls, or maybe you have a dominant receiver at the X here, okay? And you want to run a formation like this because you notice that your opponent constantly leaves him one-on-one on the backside so they can deal with the trip side. Well, then maybe you can align the formation into the boundary, leave your X on the field side one-on-one with the corner, and now he has all of this space to attack this guy. So, there's different ways of thinking about it, but in the ideal world, I don't think it's efficient to align the passing strength of your formation into the boundary like this. So thinking about this, because you're going to run into players who constantly do this, and I think they don't do it because for intentional reasons. They do this because they are unaware. They just want to run a play and they want to move on to the next play, and they just pick the next one. So let's move on. Let's go. I'm going to show you just one play here where my opponent ran the formation into the boundary, and pay attention to the passing strength of the formation. Now I know he threw it to the weak side, okay, but I'm not really concerned with this. Take a look at these 3 receivers. And what do they all have in common here? They are all trying to attack the middle of the field. Okay? And when you think about it, when you think about the outside receiver in a formation, and you compare him to the outside receiver, all right, obviously the inside receiver has more options in the type of routes that he can run. Okay, he can take it in, he can take it out, he can take it up. The outside receiver, he can take it in or take it up, but he doesn't have a lot of space to run a route to the outside. So yeah, he can run an out route. Okay, but after he breaks on that out route, he doesn't have a lot of grass before he runs into the sideline. How many times have you seen a play to where the number 1 receiver with a split like this is designed to run a corner, right? Not a burst corner, but an actual right up the field and a corner, right? You never really see that. And the reason why, you really just don't have enough space after you make that break on the route. So when you think about it from that aspect, in regards to the formation as a whole, you have the passing strength on the short side of the field. You can imagine the number of problems a formation like that can have if they're trying to break to the outside. So with that said, with me thinking on that, okay, if you're going to put the formation into the boundary and there's more space to the inside, and you're going to want to attack the middle of the field, and I can use the sideline as my help, okay? If you're going to attack the middle of the field, why don't we just close it, right? Why don't we just close off the middle of the field and utilize our resources to force you to have to play more to the outside to where there isn't enough space for you to do stuff anyways. So I haven't fine-tuned what I'm going to do on defense. I just set up the skeleton or the foundation of my approach when I deal with someone who plays the formation into the boundary. And my foundational approach is to close off the middle of the field. Now, obviously, single high is known for that, and I'll figure out ways to do that from split safety, whether it be to poach the safety over from the backside with zone principles on the front side, or whatever it is. There's just the mindset is to close off the middle of the field. So here my opponent ran 4 strong, nothing wrong with that. He's on the left hash, and he goes no huddle, and this is the primary reason why a lot of players play formation into the boundary, because they run no huddle and they don't flip their offense to the other side. And we'll get an interception here. I will rewind it, and we can go over what happened. All right, so we snap the ball, and we see, primary issue here. So I like to run cover 3 sky. You guys know I hate spot drop coverage, but this is the one instance to where I think spot drop is pretty good. And it's because the space on the boundary side is so condensed. The problem with spot drop zone coverage is that defenders can get overloaded in zones. You get high load, you get vertically stretched, you got triangle reads, and etc. But there's just not enough space to me to efficiently run those types of concepts on this side of the field with so many offensive threats on one side, right? They're all on the short side of the field. And, the issue is, the offense wants to create space, the defense wants to constrain space. But when the offense is already doing that by lining them up on the short side, and to me, when they do this, you're making the job for the defense easier. It's easier for us to constrain space when you are playing in a condensed space in the first place, right? So, the whole idea of route concepts, route combinations, when you run curl flat, you're stretching the flat defender, or like in the dragon concept, you're attacking the curl flat defender, the apex defender. He can never be right in cover 3 zone, right? But in this instance, it's like the total opposite for the defense. Look at our hook curl defender, okay? He's inside leverage on this receiver, but even a ball thrown to the number 2, he could collapse on it. Right, so we're kind of killing 2 birds with 1 stone, because they're condensed in this little space, to where a ball thrown to this player, you can almost leak off and make a play on the ball. Right, that's the problem with the route combination he has called, and then aligning them into the boundary. There's just not enough space for him to stretch the defense as a whole. Right, so with this defender, we're clogging up the space for 2 receivers here. This defender here on the outside, our deep third, he's midpointing the 1 and the 2 here, right? So a ball thrown to the 2, we got 2 defenders that can collapse on that. A ball thrown to the 1, he's right on the edge of the sideline, right? So he has nowhere to go. He can collapse on that, the corner on the outside. And obviously he throws to the deep middle safety who's playing over the top of this. There's literally nowhere to go. Now he has the flats over here, but again, he's running them out into the sideline, and a ball thrown to them, we could just parade down and make a tackle, right? This defender here is over the top of both of these receivers. There's not a single defender on this field that is being stretched horizontally or vertically or put into conflict. It's probably the best word. I should have been said that, right? We're just not being put into conflict with the route combination he has called, and he's making it harder for himself by running his formation into the boundary, right? Now, obviously, there are problems on the defensive side of the ball. I don't like this guy floating off into space. But again, as I stated earlier, I didn't fine tune this. This is just the foundation, right? My motto is to close off the middle of the field, and then from that point forward, I'm going to fine tune this to make it a lot better, maybe with some subtle adjustments, etc. So, look at here. So again, we see problems with the defense. Again, this is why I cannot stand spot drop coverage, right? You see how this corner here, he's the outer third on this side. What I don't like about this is there's no one threatening this side of the field. Why not squeeze the formation to make the windows tighter, right? But again, this is where we can make adjustments with the defense to make it better against formation into the boundary, right? But even so, I mean, no one's being stretched. Look at this wide receiver. He's being pinned to the sideline. There's just not enough space for the offense to operate, right? This is where I think it's a mistake to run like pure man-to-man coverage, right? So he throws it, not enough space for him to make a play, and we get an incompletion. So, again, you can run that back. I won't pause it, but notice how the two outside receivers were trying to attack the middle of the field. They were running in the same space, right? That's just poor offensive design. I don't know what he did to get that. Here we almost get a sack. There's just nowhere to go. Now, I don't like, you can rewind that. I don't like how the outside corner was playing with outside leverage. That's where the divider line is critical here. If you would have played inside, there would just be nowhere to throw, right? So I'll leave it at that. Obviously, there's a lot more to it. You have to fine-tune this. Watch this cover zero. Pass protection, half slide to the left, drift away from the free rusher, touchdown here. I just wanted to throw that in there. But, obviously there's more to it. I'm going to fine-tune it, do little things. And obviously I'm going to develop some split safety stuff. But if I do split safety, the middle of the field is open. I'm going to invest resources to closing off the middle of the field, even from a split safety type defense. And again, I think spot drop is a lot better with formation into the boundary due to the fact that it's just harder for defenders to get stretched on that side of the field, and that's where spot drop is good. Spot drop is good when you're playing against people who do not run passing concepts, right? They don't run flood, they don't run curl flat, they don't run Hank, they don't run none of that stuff. They just run receivers to try to get open, all crossing patterns, all doing this. They're not complementing the routes. And in that situation, that's where spot drop is great and man-to-man coverage is terrible, right? If you have a guy running 4 slants from all of his receivers, why would you ever play man-to-man coverage against that? Because all your defenders are trying to run across the field and they just run into each other. That's an instance to where cover 2 zone would be great, spot drop, right? To where we can out-leverage those routes and we're not running into each other and he's not stretching any of the defenders, all right? So I'll leave it at that. Again, I like to throw videos to throw an idea at you, and then you could kind of tweak your own version of what I'm giving you to kind of come up with your own thing. But my mentality when I get formation into the boundary for right now is to run some type of spot drop and to close off the middle of the field. And obviously I will add to that. I also I will have more parts to this. I like to blitz. Maybe I shouldn't give this now, but I'll go ahead and say it. I like to blitz from the boundary side. Okay, so when you line up the formation into the boundary, if I blitz from the boundary, that's less space for my blitzing corner to travel to get to the quarterback. On top of that, you have condensed space for your receivers to run. So I've been doing that as well, and I've been creating hell for a lot of players when I do that, right? So that will be part 2. This was part 1, just to kind of set up the foundation and how to approach it. Obviously, it's just my opinion. You can come up with your own stuff. Maybe in the comments, you can give your ideas on what you like to do against formation into the boundary. I'll leave it at that. I hope you got something from this video, and I hope you keep coming back for more on that piece.